have two speakers this morning to start off, and we're going to be talking about some things in housing. We, of course, have been focusing concerning the homeless, and we will have some reports on that before we adjourn today. But some of you had said that you wanted to also kind of broaden the scope of what we were looking at and talk about some issues relating to housing and some of the difficulties people have had either holding on to their houses or some of the financial problems that they're facing. And we'll start this morning. I want to introduce Vicki Johnson. Vicki Johnson is the acting branch manager in the Atlanta HUD office. And we're delighted to have her with us this time. I know that I'm catching Ms. Johnson somewhat on the run, but I did get the word from my assistant that she had arrived, and so we're not even going to let her sit down. We're going to ask her to come on up, and I want to thank you, Ms. Johnson, for coming out to Douglasville this morning. Your audience this morning are community leaders. A number of these individuals are pastors, but what we have, of course, is as you look at the agenda, we call this our faith-based community meetings, and we invite you to come up and make your presentation, and then we'll have a brief question and answer period before we go to the next speaker. And so we're delighted to have you with us this morning.
Okay, great. Good morning.
Good morning.
Perfect timing. I just walked in. I also brought some handouts for those of you who already are here. So after the session today, feel free. I brought lots of different handouts that you might be interested in dealing with foreclosure. And I thought I would give you a little bit more than just foreclosure. I would talk about just the whole idea of what's going on with FHA, a little bit about what's going on with HUD, a little bit about what we're seeing. And I also think on the agenda, I noticed that we have one of our housing counseling agencies, CredAbility. So, or maybe not CredAbility, but we have someone else that's going to talk a little bit about housing counseling and the housing counseling program. So I won't really go a lot into that. And I'll start with FHA. A lot of people really are not familiar with FHA. It's the Federal Housing Administration, and it is a part of HUD. And a lot of the reasons that people come to FHA is that they have a little bit better comfort zone, especially given all of the changes that have taken place over the past few years. We've made some changes too, because I'm sure you've been hearing on the news that even FHA has a lot of defaults. So we have made some changes in the past year. One of the things that we've done is that we've become a lot more strict with the lenders that we approve to do FHA loans. So you probably may hear with those that are pastors, your congregation members saying, I want to purchase a home, but I can't because, you know, my credit is decent, but, you know, I may not have enough for down payment. So in the past, we have increased our down payment assistance, our down payment program a little bit. So now for us to get an FHA loan, you have to have 3.5% to put down. And we've also changed it because we used to not even care about credit scores. We thought we looked at the big package. So one of the things that we have changed is that if your credit score is at or above 580, then we allow you to get an FHA loan with 3.5%. If the credit score is between 500 to 579, you now have to put 10% down. And if your credit score is less than 500, you're no longer eligible for FHA financing. So those were major considerations and changes that we made last year. And we had to do that given with the economy. We also, you might be interested in what we're seeing for credit scores for people who are purchasing homes. You know, in the past few years, you would see someone purchase a home and their credit score could be 500, 580. But the average credit score that we're seeing for an FHA loan is 700, and that's a pretty high credit score. So when you hear, one of the things that I know a lot of the faith-based organizations are doing, are having special workshops with their members, workshops on budgeting, workshops on managing your funds. And so we found that these kind of workshops are helpful. With HUD, we have HUD-approved housing counselors, and those counselors are free to people who utilize FHA loans. And those counselors many times partner with faith-based organizations in doing those types of budgeting workshops to assist individuals, both individuals who want to purchase and individuals who may be in trouble with their loan. There are a lot of individuals who are unemployed, underemployed, and they're not familiar with all the different new programs that are out there because they're coming really quickly when we talk about refinancing. But I do want to let you know there is a program out there that if your membership, if they are not familiar with, that is the Hardest Hit Fund. And so last year, the Obama administration wanted to come up with something to help people who were unemployed, underemployed, and he wanted to come up with a program to help these individuals out. So Georgia was one of the states that received funding for the Hardest Hit Fund. How many of you have heard about the Hardest Hit Fund? And that's amazing because hopefully you'll be hearing a lot more about it. This is one of the tremendous programs. I think, gosh, I don't remember the numbers. I think it was over $300 million that was sent to Georgia to help borrowers in trouble. The good thing about this particular, and this isn't given out by HUD, it's done by the state of Georgia, is that they will provide funding to help a person that's unemployed or underemployed up to 18 months. So there wasn't a program that existed like that before. And also it will help individuals who may need a transition. They've decided that they can't afford their home. So there are monies in that to help them. So if you are not aware about it, you may want to either Google Hardest Hit Fund or even go on the state of Georgia's website about that. And they also will send information again to your membership. They will send some links if you have websites. So I think your members will find that very helpful. Something else that you might find helpful is that when there were floods, I know that a lot of the people in Austell and Douglasville were impacted by that, but many of the individuals were not aware of a product we had called the 203H loan. The 203H loan is a disaster loan. And we did come out and we talked to a lot of faith-based organizations about it. With this particular loan, there's no down payment. There's no required down payment. If the person has lost their home due to a disaster, and that home could be a rental or the home could be a home that they owned, then we do have this product that they can apply for 100% loan. And that is a product that's very little utilized in the state of Georgia. And with this particular product, they can go back and rebuild, and we're very flexible on the terms. So we know that a lot of times, if they've had a flood, they've lost all of their, a lot of the the bills are still there, but they've lost a lot of information that they need to apply for a loan. So it's the only product that we have where we are somewhat flexible in the application process. So you want to keep the 203H in mind. The other product that we have that people don't utilize enough is our 203K. We have a product where people who've been in their homes, because now most people are going in and doing rehabs. So with that product, you can go in and they can rehab their homes. They can do minor rehabs or they can do major rehabs. So, and again, it's an FHA product. Many of you may not also be familiar with what a HUD home is. And a HUD home is basically a person with an FHA loan that defaulted on that loan, and so it becomes a HUD home. Georgia has thousands of HUD homes. And so what we've done is, and we'll be coming to Douglasville, but we've been going county by county, creating, implementing a program we have called Showcase of Homes. It's a pilot program where we take the best of our properties, And we have some really good looking properties now. We have some really nice looking properties, and we take the best of the best. And what we do is that we go in and we do minor fix-ups. So people have told us in the past, well, if the home had, you know, more nicer appliances, if it would have had wood floors. So sometimes we just go in and we fix them up a little bit and we put them on the market, and they're called Showcase of Homes. And we're going county by county, and we're rolling out this particular pilot so that people can really see what the products that we have and also purchase more of our HUD homes. Often I hear from organizations about the dollar home, so I did want to tell you a little bit about the dollar home. We no longer have dollar homes for individuals. However, if we keep a property in our inventory for more than 6 months or more, then it becomes eligible for our Good Neighbor Next Door program. So that's where your teachers, police officers, emergency technicians can go in and purchase homes 50% of the value of what it is. And then we also set aside properties that are $1. Now, in order to get the dollar home, we put them on our site. We allow the local government, the local county government, to request that home. When they request it from us, they get it for $1, and they donate it to any nonprofit they desire. So if you're not familiar with that, you may want to look that up on our website, www.hud.gov. Now keep in mind, we do not keep a lot of properties for 6 months. So sometimes these properties are not the best of properties. They may need a lot of work, but they're $1. So, and in the past, we've had individuals, we've had local governments donated to nonprofits, and the nonprofits will come back and say, well, we don't want to build another house. Can we use it for a center? So we have approved it for bilingual centers, specific centers that are for the good of the neighborhood. We've also allowed nonprofits to come in and to tear down those properties and to use it for, you know, they may want to put a special monument there. But so our goal is to create home ownership with those properties, but just to let you know, you can request a waiver to do other things. So that's what's going on with our dollar home program. And how am I on time? Do I have about, what, 5 more minutes or? Okay, so with that little time that's left, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the scams that we're seeing in Georgia. And unfortunately, we're hoping that we can get the word out to your membership about some of these scams. Georgia is probably number 2 in scams, and they're getting more and more creative every day. So I wanted to just give you an idea of what some of the scams look like that we're seeing here. The phantom help is when someone comes in and says, oh, we know that you're almost in foreclosure, so what we're going to do is if you pay us $2,000 or some type of high fee, we'll get you out of this, we'll help you, and we'll get you the representation that you need. And it never happens, because that's not the way that it works. Then there's the bailout. It's all kinds of schemes, but basically the goal is to get the homeowner to surrender their title to the house and remain as renters, and then someday they'll be able to do a lease purchase. So this is another scam, because they have no sincere thoughts to get them back in as the homeowner, and generally they're not even in as renters that long, because what they're really trying to do is to get the house and sell it for themselves. The bait and switch is when homeowners think they're signing docs for a new loan to make it current, but they really are signing the docs to give the home to someone else, and they no longer own it. And so then they come to us and they say, but I thought I was signing it to bring it current, but really they signed it over to someone else. That one's very popular here. And another popular one is equity stripping, where buyers purchase a home for the amount of their rearage, and then they'll flip it for a profit. And some of those are just very, very common scams that we're seeing here. And they get more creative every day. And like I was saying, that with Georgia being probably number 2 or 3 in scams, they're moving quicker than we can keep up with them. So a lot of times we think that we know what the scam is, and then there's another one that's creative. If only these individuals would use their creative minds for something for the good of everybody, it would be just wonderful, but they're not. So if you can encourage anything to the individuals that are either in your congregation or in the organizations that you work with, it's to read everything closely. The scheme is to give them 100 or 200 pages and they'll just read the first 10 pages. But to get anyone that's in trouble a chance to read very closely. The other thing is, as I indicated, we have free housing counseling, and if you go on our website, they can go to these individuals, talk to the individuals, and they are trusted individuals that will provide them all the information that's available to assist them. There are a lot of new programs that are coming out. We have a loss mitigation program. We don't want the homes back. We don't want to be carrying, 30,000 homes like we've had in our region over the past. So we're getting creative about what to do with our properties, and you'll be hearing more. Again, our website is www.hud.gov. I suggest that you possibly go on our website and read it often. And we also, for those who are not familiar, we also have a Center for Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships. I'm going to give you a local contact who's in our office. Just tell him I referred you. His name is Michael Asante, A-S-A-N-T-I, Michael, M-Y-K-L. His number is, his email address, I'll be nice and give him his email address, is N, as in not, N dot Michael, M-Y-K-L, dot Asante, A-S-A-N-T-I, at HUD.gov. Michael will put you on our national faith-based list. What we do on our faith-based list is that we do conference calls. We try to do something monthly. We try to have the Secretary of HUD come on and talk to you about some of the initiatives and some of the things that I've shared, and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. For instance, next month we're having HUD is meeting at the White House with USDA, and they're inviting some of our faith-based leadership to go to that meeting. So this is a good opportunity to hear, at least from our perspective from HUD, and from us to hear from you by becoming active. Michael will also put you on the mailing list so that you'll get at least weekly updates, or every, bi-weekly updates of what's going on, so that you'll be able to share that information with those that need it. And at this time, I'd like to, let me give you my email address. It's Vickie, V-I-C-K-I-E. There are 3 Vickies, so I'm V-I-C-K-I-E. There's another Vickie here too. .l.johnson at HUD.gov. So feel free to email me if you have any questions, or if there's anything that you would like for me to share with others at HUD. And were there any questions? Thank you very much.
But our next speaker is Laura, I'm saying Kramer, who is a financial education specialist with CredAbility, a non-profit credit counseling. And she has been involved with the Piece by Piece initiative here in Douglasville, Douglas County. And we're delighted to have you come forward and speak to us at this time.
All right, thank you. A couple of things. Hopefully Vickie in the back can help me. Most of you should have a brochure on your table. I also printed off a few things of a PowerPoint that we also have, so hopefully Vickie in the back can help me hand those out. But again, my name is Laura Kramer. I work with CredAbility. We used to be called Consumer Credit Counseling Service. So I want to talk a little bit about the services that we have, services that you can use as far as referrals. We are a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. So I want to talk a little bit about the services, and then I'll go into more detail about some options that people may have to preventing foreclosure. So let's take a look at this brochure right here. It is English on one side, Spanish on the other side. This is our agency brochure. So I'm going to go over the whole thing of services that we have. So if you open this up, I'll go through our services and how you, family members, or even your congregation can get in touch with us. So under our services, you'll see budget and credit counseling. Vicki was talking a little bit earlier about people having problems with budgeting, managing their money, and therefore unable to pay their mortgage. That is a free service that we offer. It's a 1-hour counseling session where we help people with the budgeting. We also help them look through their credit, take a look at their credit report. It does not affect their credit. That is a free service. They can call as many times as they'd like. All right. The next service you'll see on here is a debt management plan, or a DMP. We run into some people who have had a lot of issues with credit cards in particular. So with a debt management plan, what we help people do is consolidate that debt and help them put it into a smaller, more manageable monthly payment for them. Right? Then the last thing you'll see on that particular page is foreclosure prevention counseling, which I'll go into a little bit more detail. As I mentioned, we are a HUD approved agency. What we do is counsel people for free on what their options are for saving their home. We have people in a lot of different situations. Some are unemployed, which Vicki talked about a little bit earlier, or it may be mismanagement of funds. So we help them, first of all, understand what type of mortgage they have. We assist them in the communication with their lender, and if they are eligible for something like a loan modification, we can assist in the document submission of that part. That is a free service for them. Okay. On the opposite side, you've probably heard also commercials about reverse mortgage. Reverse mortgage is a loan product for seniors who are 62 and above that have a significant amount of equity in their home, that want to use the equity in their home to do a mortgage in the reverse. Because of all the scams that were going on in the financial world many years ago, housing counseling is required for someone who wants to do a reverse mortgage. So right now, that is also a free service for seniors 62 and above. The next thing, we had a little bit of talk about bankruptcy. We do also have bankruptcy services. Back in 2005, the bankruptcy laws changed in the United States, where now counseling and financial education is actually required to any individual filing for bankruptcy. So we have these counseling services and also this education available for those who do decide to file for bankruptcy. And it is, like Vicki was saying, a last resort option for people who are trying to save their home, because it kind of puts this temporary holding pattern. And then after that bankruptcy is discharged, then that's when the proceedings continue. And the last thing you'll see on here is financial education. You can access financial education online at CredAbility.org. We have over 50 different classes on any financial topic you can think of. We were talking earlier about fraud and scams, foreclosure prevention, budgeting, anything that you can think of. It is free education on that website. Okay, so if you want to use this as a referral, I can certainly give you more brochures to put out. But underneath the CredAbility logo, you've got our 1-800 number and also our website. This is how you can get in touch with us. They can do a housing counseling session over the phone. They can come visit us in person. We do have an office here in Douglasville off of Chapel Hill, 3500 Chapel Hill Road. Or they can do it via chat on the computer if they're more comfortable doing that. So just a couple of different things. I wanted to show you this foreclosure prevention client profile. This is some statistics that we've pulled recently just to give you an idea of what kind of clients we work with on a regular basis. And this information isn't Douglas County specific. It's going to be nationwide specific, but it can kind of give you an idea of where people are at. So you'll see over here at the top the demographic information. So the demographic that we're looking at is usually mid-40s, and you'll see most of them are married. We also break it down by household size. And you'll see gross income. Gross annual income you see for 2010 was over $50,000. So some of them are unemployed, but some of them are still employed. But something very, very interesting, if you look under the financial information, you'll see there in bold monthly surplus and deficit. Does everybody see that? And you'll see that part in the red. This is the monthly deficit that they're looking at. So if you look down at the year 2010, many of our clients have over $1,200 in a deficit each month. So you can figure if they're trying to manage a mortgage payment and they're in a deficit of $1,200, you know, that's where some of the other services also come in. And we also break it down by the other types of secured debt they have and unsecured debt when we talk about credit cards, over borrowing, overspending. And you'll see there at the bottom, average FICO credit score, 300 to an 850. You'll see those numbers down there. Most of our clients are somewhere in the 500s, probably because of those missed payments. And then the very bottom is the average BNI score. That's a predictability of the risk factor for someone filing for bankruptcy. That score goes from 1 to 600. The lower the score, the higher risk for filing bankruptcy. So this kind of gives you a profile of and how that's changed from 2006 all the way to 2010. So as you see the waves of unemployment coming, that's how this has changed. And that's why programs like Home Safe Georgia have come out, because many of those people who are unemployed would not qualify for a loan modification, would not qualify for making home affordable refinance. They can't refinance because they're not employed. So we'll talk about some of those options as well. Now, the second thing I gave you is just other types of statistics as far as clients coming to counseling to prevent foreclosure. Some of the statistics that we've seen, every 3 minutes somebody forecloses on their home, and that's nationwide. We are number 4 here in Georgia. We're beat out by Florida, California, and Arizona. Those are also hardest hit fund recipients, and Georgia actually got $230 million for that, and that goes through 2017 for that hardest hit fund. But many of the clients that are not successful in saving their home have never done any type of housing counseling, have never talked to their lender. So some of the statistics that you'll see on there, a recent study found that 1 year after counseling, because we do a follow-up with counseling, 80% of those clients are still in their home, and 71% have had no foreclosure activity. So hopefully you will tell more people about how counseling is helpful. It is a free service. Yes, we're not able to help 100% of the people that we see, but we will certainly help them navigate through those options. So that being said, let me talk about some of the options that may be available to them, and depending on what situation they're in. Let's say someone was temporarily unemployed and now they got even a better job and they have some additional money available to put towards their mortgage. They may qualify for something what the lender calls a reinstatement or a partial reinstatement. In that, the person would have to not only pay their current payment plus back payments. So you see in that situation, it was someone who had a temporary situation and now is reemployed or has some additional money. I see some of you saying, I don't know about that, okay? Probably the programs that you've heard most about are Making Home Affordable. Have you heard that? So there's a couple different programs under the Making Home Affordable umbrella. You've got the HARP program, which is Home Affordable Refinance Program, and you got the HAMP program, which is Home Affordable Modification Program. So one is a modified payment, where the payment is usually modified to a lower amount. The lender will give them a trial period. After that trial period, they will see if they can get a permanent modification, okay? With the refinance program, we had talked about, it's someone who is now able to do that refinance. Now there's a refinancing program, even if they're underwater, they owe more on their home than it's actually worth, then some of these programs will also assist them in the refinance, even if they're underwater. So those are some programs that are coming out as well. Then sometimes we talk to clients about last resort options. Last resort options being sale of the property. It could be a short sale where we talk to a lot of real estate professionals in being able to sell the home for less than they actually owe on it. We talked about bankruptcy earlier, which is kind of that temporary, as I talked about. And if you're working with seniors, they may qualify for something like a reverse mortgage, but they want to know everything that goes into that before they sign up for that type of loan product. Yes? Okay.
I want to thank Ms. Kramer for that presentation, and let's give her a round of applause. And Ms. Kramer, I hope also you can stick around for a few minutes. There may be questions. I'm going to ask the mayor to come up at this time, but keep in mind what I said to you earlier, that before we leave this morning, we need to know where we plan to meet next. So while the mayor is making his comments, I'm going to be standing over here. Now, if you're ready to volunteer for us to come to your place next, you come up and see me so we can make that announcement before we adjourn. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Bill. And I will make this brief so Bill doesn't come up here and stand beside me.
We may want him to.
Well, you know, when I get a hold of a microphone or a podium, sometimes I don't know when to quit, but I promise this will be brief. First of all, I'd like to recognize somebody that's already been recognized. I call her Mother, but she's probably been, well, not probably, I know for a fact, because I've known her 25, 30 years, and she's been involved in Douglasville and Douglas County and been very active in reaching out, meeting the needs of the community longer than anybody in this room. I know that for a fact. And that's Mother Parker from Greater Mount Olive. So we're glad to have you here this morning. And I do call her Mother, and sometimes she says she will call me son. But we're glad to have you here this morning. But the next thing, I'd like to thank everybody for being here this morning. I know all of you are very busy, got a lot of things going on, a lot of other places you could be, so I'll make this brief. But this is what it's all about. And it is truly a community coming together to meet the needs of the community itself and the people that truly have needs. It's a cooperative effort of all of us working together, and I want to thank you for being here. And it is truly an example of what a faith-based community can do working with the government. The government and the faith-based community can work together, should work together to meet the needs of our community. One should not be exclusive of the other. And as you've heard already, there are pastors, there are social organizations. There's a lot of different people in this room today. But it's faith-based, government working together with a lot of other entities to meet the needs of our community. I thank you for being here. I want to just, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, but thank you. And I'm going to just very briefly speak to something. Some of you have heard me say this before, but the thing about separation of church and state. Folks, there is no such thing, and there needs to be no such thing. That is something that has been propagated upon us by a lot of different people, and it is truly not what our founding fathers intended. Our founding fathers did not intend for a separation of church and state. It's nowhere in the Declaration of Independence. It's not in the Constitution, and it's not what our founding fathers said, and it's not what this country was founded upon. So the churches and the government and our communities need to work together. All of our founding fathers had a strong faith, and their faith and their beliefs are what this country was founded upon. And we don't need to get away from that, because when we get away from that, the outcome is not good. And if you don't believe that, study history. Study any country, any nation that strayed from its beliefs and its core foundational beliefs and see what happened. It's historical. It's not just me speaking. But I want to encourage you to stay involved. You're the individuals that should hold the community accountable and responsible for the foundational beliefs of what our country's founded upon. It's your responsibility. It's evidenced by you being here this morning, and I thank you for that. But let me read you something real quick, and I'll close. And it says, "Proclaim liberty throughout the land to all the inhabitants thereof." Anybody know where that came from? came from Leviticus 25:10. Let me read that to you again. Proclaim liberty throughout the land to all the inhabitants thereof. Leviticus 25:10. Let me read you just a short little paragraph here. It says, in that building on July the 2nd, 1776, the Founding Fathers and the Continental Congress voted to approve a complete separation from Great Britain. On July the 4th, they approved the Declaration of Independence. And listen to this. And on July the 8th, they carried the Declaration outside Independence Hall, read it to the assembled crowd, and then rang the Liberty Bell. Most citizens assume that famous bell derives its name from the fact that it rang when America announced its liberty. But such is not the case. It is called the Liberty Bell because of the biblical inscription from Leviticus 25:10 emblazoned around it said, proclaim liberty throughout the land to all the inhabitants thereof. So I encourage you as a faith-based community to stay involved, hold your government and your government leaders accountable, and continue with your beliefs and working together. It's amazing what you can get accomplished when nobody cares who gets the credit. And this right here is evidence of it. It's a collective body working together, reaching the needs of our community, and have it be one of the greatest places in the country to live. I applaud you for being here, and thank you very much.